I need you to knock some sense into me. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, I don't know.
I enjoy listening to you. I don't always agree with everything.
All right. Enough of this persiflage.
So, you want my question?
I'm certainly not going to get myself in trouble by telling you what to do.
That makes great sense. Gosh, that's good.
Did I overwhelm you with words and wisdom?
I've got 7 kids. I feel like I could call you every day.
Wait, you're telling me I'm wrong? Disconnect.
Yes, I am, Dr. Ray.
You just need to tune in to Dr. Ray, honey. He's got all the answers.
Am I right or am I right?
Probably.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
I have succeeded. That gentleman who said, I listen to you, but I don't always agree with you. I have succeeded in giving him a very solid self-image. What is my reason for this? Because if he's willing to disagree with me, and by extension, be wrong, but still do it, he must have a pretty solid self-image. So I have succeeded. Thank you for joining me here on The Doctor Is In. This is E-Person Monday, where we take, I'm going to say, emails from previous programs. I got a couple today back from April, and I feel so terrible about this because, I'm sort of behind in the stack. And one of the things I like to do with these missives, I can't even say missives, isn't it? Missives. Person is, people is, whatever they might be, I like to read them because I don't remember when I put them in the queue for a future show. I really don't remember why I did it. There's a certain length that you can easily handle on the program, not too short, not too long. In the email there is information that comes out, and I like reading between the lines. I stop a lot during the email to make a comment, and I don't always know how it's going to conclude. I don't remember. So I like when I speculate about where this is all going, and then I find out in the end if I'm right or I'm wrong. Like that guy said, he doesn't always agree. So I could be wrong. But he didn't call in when he disagreed. So we will get to that. My wife made an interesting observation the other day. She being female. I never even thought of this. Why? Because, I'm kind of dorky when it comes to fashion. She made the observation that most people, particularly younger people, are very aware and sensitive to changes in fashion. They're not going to wear a wide tie or bell-bottoms or a paisley shirt or lapels on a suit coat. Fashions change rapidly within a matter of a few years. Some guy named Maurice in Europe decides, no, we're gonna change things. I'm being facetious. And people do. They go out and buy whole new wardrobes. Why? Because they don't want to be caught in the same thing that they were caught in 3 years ago. Now me, I don't pay much attention. I have to make sure that the giraffe goes with my aardvark. And I know you people don't quite know what I'm saying, all of you. It's garanimals. It's the way kids dress to match. Boys don't care if they match. Little girls, this is touching me right here. Starts young. So given the fact that young people, teens, 20s, 30s, are so aware of the shifting fashions and would not want to wear something as dorky as was big 5 years ago, like a mustache. That's right. See, that's the other thing. Mustaches came and went, and now they're back. Well, when they came and went, I still had it. So I was dorky for, well, I don't know, close to 15, 20 years. Major league dork. But I hung on. And now I'm cool again. Well, just because of the mustache is really the only thing. Now, here's the irony of it all. Those young people who are so hyper-attuned to changing fashion and are so scrupulous about keeping with the fashions, changing as the fashions change, using colors that are now in as opposed to colors that are not in anymore, which were in before but they're not now and they will be back. That is the nature of fashion. These are the same people who will cover their bodies with all sorts of ink, all sorts of tattoos that are permanent. So if you have a paisley shirt, now paisleys were in, way back, probably the 80s. Okay, not so long ago, vests for suits were big. Well, vests died out. People don't wear vests anymore. Sometimes they do, but for the most part, no, that's just not cool. So people who would ditch the vest would have all over their bodies stuff that they can't get rid of. It's with them now. It's a fashion that they're stuck with. They can't say, oh boy, tattoos are just not in anymore. Less and less people are getting them. I'll draw a parallel. The younger basketball players in the NBA are less and less likely to have tattoos. Oh, man, there for a while, every NBA player was riddled with tattoos. Now, some of the younger ones are not getting tattoos. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Are they fading out in popularity? And what if they are? And you still got yours. Oh, what are you going to do now? And we don't have the technology to easily take these things away. So the irony is, those so concerned about the changes in fashion, so enthused to keep up and be cool, adorning themselves with the very latest, are so often the very ones who will permanently put on their body something that is there for life. And, like an old coat that's been worn too many times, 15 years from now, it's going to look pretty shabby. I'm Dr. Ray. I'll be back.
Stay. Do not go.
You are still the strongest of all. I will remember your strength for many years, but we must go.
Thank you for joining me here on the Doctor's In. I'm Dr. Ray Garindi. E-Person Monday. Had to find a way to somehow at least respond to the e-persons I get here on the radio and also from the TV show. And interestingly enough, some people who know of the TV show don't know anything about the radio show. So when I write them and say, can you call the radio show? I can ask some questions. They say, what radio show? Keeps you humble. Dear Dr. Ray, right now I am struggling with some heartache and guilt. I'd say about 50% of the time, when I read that first line in somebody's communication, I find that they have no reasonable, rational justification for feeling guilt. My 28-year-old son has struggled with Crohn's disease. He's had his colon removed, and at one point had an ostomy. Overall, his health is okay, though he is prone to dehydration. He lives at home with me and my husband. And see, she's building up to this. She's essentially saying he's a great kid, because parents do this. They will describe a situation and usually throw some accolades in there about this particular individual, be he 6, be he 26. He works full time, is saving his money, and is just a great guy. See, I didn't see the great guy coming. Over the past 2 years, his kidney function labs have been mildly abnormal. He's seen a nephrologist for the first time yesterday. Thinks he might have some mild kidney damage from past episodes of dehydration. One specifically from a horrible case of norovirus where he became extremely dehydrated, requiring hospitalization and IV fluids. I had a son who was born with a cleft lip and palate, who had some surgery, and he became also dehydrated. I've had a daughter that became dehydrated, yes. And actually, I've had 2 daughters become dehydrated, and you have to put them in the hospital, and they fill them up with fluids. All right, now here's the guilt. Here's where she's coming in with the guilt. I'm now feeling so guilty, as right before he got sick with norovirus, my husband and I had what we thought was food poisoning. That happens a lot. People have a virus or bacteria, and we tend to think, it's something I ate, food poisoning, because it lasts a day or two. It's a very, very common mistake. We didn't realize it was specifically norovirus. Okay. Now here I can sense where the guilt's coming in here. I still had my husband and I isolate as much as possible. I started to feel a little better, so I remember making my son's lunch. All right. Guilt is a lot worse when you're trying to do something charitable and you think that what you did with all good intention hurt somebody. I washed my hands really well prior, but now I'm just kicking myself because as a pediatric nurse, I really should have known better and not handled any food. Well, all right, let me argue with that. You washed your hands. You really didn't know it was norovirus. So were you going to shut everything down? Okay. I also know as a nurse that no matter what I did, norovirus is so incredibly contagious that he could have gotten it no matter what. True. Could have gotten it somewhere else. I just feel so awful that he now has another health issue he's facing, and that maybe that one act of making his lunch contributed to it. I keep playing it over and over in my mind. How do I let go and move on? You let go and move on because you look at it realistically and not emotionally. You didn't know he had norovirus. How are you supposed to know that? You did isolate as best you could. You all lived in the same household, so that's hard to do. 3, you made his lunch. What a nice thing. You made his lunch. You washed your hands. You didn't think to yourself, I better wash here for 6 minutes because I got norovirus. No, you didn't think that. You washed your hands, which was a good thing to do. A lot of people don't even do that. You know that as a nurse. So what you're doing is you're beating yourself up badly over an unintentional consequence. You didn't say, well, you know what? I could have norovirus, but I don't care. What's the matter? I'm going to do this anyway. And if my son gets sick, has some problems with his kidneys, too bad, so sad. You didn't do any of that. What you're really saying here, Mom, is I am not permitted to make a mistake. I am not permitted to do something that perhaps, and that's the other part of this, maybe caused the kidney problems. Maybe. Keep in mind, that was the doctor's speculation that perhaps his recent bout with norovirus contributed to some of his kidney problems. You don't know that. He's had a history of all kinds of stuff down there. So you don't know that. So you see what you're doing? You are taking all the what if, and put them all together and saying, I did it. I should have known better, and I hurt my son. You don't know that, Mom. I think part of you may feel like you should feel terrible. That's what a mom is supposed to do. If a mom does something, however unintentionally, that hurts her child, she should feel terrible. I guess you could say, I'll feel terrible for a while. I don't like feeling terrible forever. I look back at my own fatherhood. There are things I would have done different? Probably. But at the time, given what I knew, given my best judgment, I made a decision. If it didn't work out, in part it's because I'm not God. And I can't know all things. And therefore, what I do know I have to act upon or not act upon. And it can affect somebody negatively. That can happen. There's no way it's not going to happen. I think maybe you think you deserve to be beaten up. You deserve to feel terrible because your son is a great kid. He's had a lot of physical suffering in his life. And in your mind, you just added to it. First of all, you don't know that. You just don't know that. There's too much unknowns involved in the norovirus and his kidney function. But even if that is the case, did you do it on purpose? No, but I didn't think. Okay. But what you thought at the time was pretty solid. All right. Well, Mary, I hope that helps you. Oh gosh, I went all the way back. See, I do this on my phone, and that was a long ago e-person. We get back there because what happens is when new mail comes in, it bumps everything. All right, so let's get down here to where that was. There it is. Okay. Well, let's see. Here's the next one. Dr. Ray, I have a question about my mother and her struggle to attend Sunday Mass. She has epilepsy. Now, I'm going to assume it's grand mal. And suffered with that for most of her adult life. God bless her. She is 65. When she has a seizure, she often talks loud or yells. All right, so those parts of her brain that are hyperreactive are areas where expression resides, at least some of it. She may even fall if she is standing up or need to sit down right away. Her seizures last for no more than 30 seconds to a minute. Okay. After having a seizure, she may have to sleep for several hours to feel better. Yes, I had a friend I played ball with. He would have a grand mal seizure and he'd be out for the day. And if he had one during the day, we knew he couldn't play that night. few years ago, she did a brain scan because she was having seizures more often. She was taken off all her medication during her stay in the hospital so they could monitor her brain activity, try to catch it while she was having a seizure. In the hospital, she had around 6 seizures over the course of a few days. However, looking at the scans, the doctors could see that only one of the episodes was a seizure. The other 5 were panic attacks. Now, this is an interesting twist. I don't remember this when I first read this. So now, she has a diagnosis of panic disorder on top of epilepsy diagnosis. Because of this new discovery, she can't determine whether she has seizures or panic attacks when she has an episode. Her anxiety around having an episode in public has increased due to this. Yes, this is very common. It's called anticipatory anxiety. That means you're worried about when and where this is going to happen again. And it is that arousal, that emotional stress, that makes it more likely you'll have another one. If you could say to yourself, if I have another one, I have another one. I'll sit down. I'll let it pass. I'll continue to do what I'm doing. I'll let it pass. If you could do that, you could actually believe that, you would dramatically lower the frequency of these kinds of episodes in public. Now, there's more to this. So, I'll talk about it. I'll summarize it after the break. We'll talk about it some more. I'm Dr. Ray. The program here, The Doctor is In, the variant of the program, E-Person Monday, and I thank you for your company.
This is Life News Radio. I'm Jim Anderson. Professor Dr. Michael New says popular opinion on abortion continues moving in a pro-life direction. The Supreme Court action that ended 50 years of Roe v. Wade abortions also upset 50 years of abortion-friendly rhetoric that now appears to be wearing off. Not helping Planned Parenthood is its expansion from abortion into gender assignments. Both abortion and gender assignments align with Planned Parenthood's eugenic goals of ensuring decline in population. Closings of Planned Parenthood locations are sweeping the nation. Its huge Houston location, built in 2010, one of the largest in the world, is closing in September. Following shocking allegations of huge ethical problems with U.S. organ procurement, the actual case histories are reinforcing the gruesome allegations. Those who managed to survive are grateful. In one case, a dying woman's family's wishes were ignored, and organ donation destroyed evidence of possible abortion malpractice. This is Life News Radio. Population decline is being connected with the stunning numbers of U.S. abortions, now totaling over 65 million, and now our fertility rate has fallen to an historic low of 1.6 children per woman in the latest federal CDC data. Certain industries are noted for coercing female workers into abortion. Grammy-winning singer Victoria Monet was pregnant with her daughter Hazel when she says music industry execs pressured her to have an abortion. Another industry seemingly unable to accommodate childbearing is journalism. A Texas abortion ban allows those affected by abortion to sue. A Galveston man is testing states' abortionist shield laws, this time in federal court, to see if abortionists can be penalized for crossing state lines with abortion pills. For pro-life headlines delivered to your email address daily, sign up at lifenews.com. This has been Life News Radio.
Thank you for joining me. Doctor is in Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Website, drray, DRRAY.com. The books are there, 17 or 18 of them now. On faith, parenting, discipline, marriage, emotions, Jesus. Okay, I want to recap this. The young man has a mom who's 65, struggled with epilepsy. She started having some more of them, so they put her in the hospital. And they found out that of the 6 episodes that they caught while she was in the hospital for several days, 1 was a seizure, 5 were what they labeled panic attacks. So, and I'll pick up where we left off. She now has a diagnosis of panic disorder on top of the epilepsy. Due to this, she cannot determine whether she has seizures or panic attacks. Well, in some respects, that should be somewhat clear. If, for example, in the seizure, if she falls down or if she yells out, anxiety doesn't make you do that. A panic attack doesn't make you scream. It doesn't make you act foolish. It can make you feel crazy, doesn't make you act crazy. So that could be an indicator here. What she may be doing is saying, I feel a certain way when I get panicky. And there's enough of a resemblance between that and a 30 second to 1 minute seizure that I'm not sure which is which. Well, first thing I would do here is try to get her to identify which is which should be relatively easy. Her anxiety over having an episode in public has increased. Very common. Part of the diagnosis of panic disorder. Typically, it's repeated panic attacks, and it dramatically constricts your freedom of movement because you live in fear of when this could happen again. Because panic attacks, by their nature, are pretty unpredictable. Even though if you search for causes, you sometimes can find them. Fatigue, lack of sleep, various stressors that have been eaten away at you. But sometimes they're just random surging of the body's defense system. One place she struggles to go the most seems to be church on Sundays. She often misses due to having a seizure or panic attack or having, in her words, too much anxiety to even leave the house to go to church. Okay, this will be another indicator of which is which. You said, son, that when she has a seizure, she sleeps for several hours because she's exhausted. Does she do that with a panic attack? Will she sleep for several hours because she's exhausted? Probably not. Probably not. The neurology of the panic attack, the neurology of the epilepsy can be exhausting. It's the brain firing off. In a panic attack, the brain is not necessarily overactive, the body is. The mind is telling the body, oops, danger here. And this is what she is also saying. She says she complains that the church is too hot, the organ is too loud, or there are too many people. Very common anticipatory stressors for a panic attack. Now the question becomes, if she were to have a panic attack and she's sitting in the back of the church, the final pew there, or even standing in church, in the back, what would happen? Apparently she wouldn't yell or fall down like she does with seizures. panic attack just makes her feel enormously distressed. She knows something is not wrong with her. She's not having a heart attack. She's not losing her mind. In all likelihood, she knows she's not having a seizure. She's getting probably pretty good at differentiating between the two. Now, when she says all these things like the church being too hot, the organ too loud, too many people, these are standard things that make people anxious. Now, the worry here from the son is this. She will attend events with similar elements with no problem often. In other words, he's saying, what is it about church? Because she'll go places where there's noise, where there's a lot of people, where it's crowded. She'll go. Well, it may be that in her mind, I want to go to those places more than I want to go to church. If I'm going to have an anxiety attack in those places, well, I'll take that chance because I really want to be there. If I'm going to have an anxiety attack at church, I'm not willing to take that chance because I'm not sure I want to be there. Now, I'm speculating. She recently missed Easter Sunday Mass, and I worry that this pattern will continue for the rest of her life, jeopardizing her soul. She's often very sensitive when confronted about this, but I feel like I need to talk to her, but I don't know how to approach it. Well, wait a minute. When you say she's often very sensitive, you're implying that you have talked to her about this. And she doesn't want to hear it. What you're saying is, okay, I haven't gotten through to her yet. What can I say to get through to her? Well, I'm not sure there's anything you can say to get through to her, because if she doesn't want to go to Mass enough to say, all right, I will go, and if this happens, it's not a catastrophe. So if it's a panic attack, I'll just sit down in the pew. I'm in the back. If it's a seizure, I may be embarrassed by yelling. Okay, I understand that. She wouldn't be required, by the way. Most priests would not require and say she needs to go to Mass even though she risks a seizure. That would be, I think, sufficient reason to watch Mass at home or maybe go later to a communion service. Yes, they would say that. Some of them would even say if she's that panic-stricken until she can get some kind of resolution, that she may not have to go. So I would say at this point, maybe you just let it go. You don't keep hammering away at it because she doesn't want to hear it. And as you said, she's sensitive. Eric, that makes sense. I got to know how to do that. I think that's very smart rather than me scrolling through here. This is ePerson Monday with me, Dr. Ray Garendi. Hello, Dr. Ray. How do I tell someone he's angry without making him more angry? Well, that's easy. You don't tell him he's angry. I mean, you got to figure he knows he's angry. And if he doesn't know he's angry, he knows he's angry by the look on your face. The worst thing to do is say, calm down. I found out. You can't tell somebody that. That just fires them up more. So, if this is a chronic problem, this is something that your husband reacts out of proportion to some frustration or some event or something somebody says or does, then I suppose he knows he's doing it, he just doesn't want to control it at that moment. Now, I would like to know what he feels like later. If you say, well, he is remorseful or he feels bad or he acts nicer because he feels terrible about what he did, then you really don't have to tell him he's angry. He knows he's angry, and he knows later he shouldn't have gotten angry, but he did. Now, she says this. My husband is a wonderful man and father. Okay. All right. So what makes him a wonderful man and father? Obviously, there's a whole lot of other stuff to his personality and his way that makes him, in the main, a very positive guy. But then she says sometimes he overreacts with angry outbursts and causes tension in the house. Never physical displays of anger, but rather explosions, then withdrawing that makes us walk on eggshells for a bit. Okay, let's take this a number of steps. When he's getting angry, what do? You just stare? Do you argue? And if you argue, does he get angrier? And that might tell you, perhaps, even though you want to argue and you want to make your case and you want to straighten things out, if it's only making things worse, then you save whatever you want to say till later. That's one. Two, probably the biggest thing is to say, why is this upsetting you so much? In other words, you're not saying, you're getting angry. You're saying, what is it about this? When you get somebody that seems to overreact or is trip switch with their frustration or their loud emotions, you know there's something going on that they're telling themselves. For example, if one of the kids pulls a stunt and he terribly overreacts, is he telling himself he's a bad dad? Is he telling himself his kid's going to be 23 years old and in prison? What is he telling himself? So ask him, what do you think that means that you got so angry? You're trying to get him to look at what he's thinking, what's going on in his head that is fueling his mindset, his anger. Now, that said, step number 3. You said you walk on eggshells afterwards. Why is that? Are you afraid that some small thing will provoke him again? That his anger will erupt? Does he apologize later? Does he say, if you say he's a wonderful man and father, okay. Does a wonderful man and father apologize? Does he say, I shouldn't have acted like that? See, I don't know because your email's very brief. You could say, if he's a wonderful man and father, you could say later when everything's calm, you know that scares the kids. Or, you know, the kids don't know what to make of that. Or the kids don't understand, depending on the age of the kids. You could do that. Now, that might make him mad, because in his mind, you're saying you're a bad dad. Which leads me to my final point. When he gets really angry over something, is he personalizing it? In other words, the fact that something didn't work out, does that mean he's a failure? The fact that something didn't work out or somebody said or did something, does that mean he's being disrespected? The fact that he gets really, really angry, is he telling himself that shouldn't happen? Try to get down to what it is within himself that is making him react, in your opinion, out of proportion. It's one thing to get frustrated. It's one thing to not like something. But if you're saying he just explodes, he erupts, then there's got to be something more going on than just the fact that something happened that he didn't like. Got to be. Maybe later. Sit down. You can say, you know, you are a wonderful man and father. So what is it? What was it about that got you that upset? I'm Dr. Ray. Thank you for joining me.
Just be yourself. Nothing more, nothing less, all right?
I can't just be myself.
Well, you're doing it right now.
No, I'm not.
All the advice, none of the bills. Come in. The doctor is in.
Is this the Dr. Ray?
Thank you so much for joining me. Dr. Ray Grady. Last segment of E-Person Monday. See what we got here. Okie dokie. Dr. Ray, I have more of a comment. On your show, and she says today, but this was a few weeks back, you expressed how to talk to someone, or how to talk with someone elderly that doesn't know why God hasn't taken them yet, and how to address it. I would like to offer another suggestion. I have a Divine Mercy Outreach ministry that shares how those who are older can do much to help the world, praying, in this case the Divine Mercy Chaplet, to hardened sinners for offering their prayers for everyone and anyone in the world. They also learn now that their suffering can be lifted up as redemptive suffering. Please let the elderly know they can do great things at this time in their life. I see them extend this mercy to others in their community as well, and it's really beautiful to watch. Yes, absolutely. There is so much when one is thinking, I've lost a lot of my freedom of movement. I seem to feel more isolated. I certainly don't have all the social connections I once had. My world seems to be contracting. And I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking, okay, Lord, what are you doing letting me linger here like this? Our writer is saying they can pray. They have a lot of time to pray. Now, I don't recall the specifics of that call, and I don't remember if the person was religious or not. Not the caller, but the elderly person they were asking about. If it's someone that is religious, their faith means something to them, yes, this is a great suggestion for them. If not, then what happens is that this is not something they would naturally approach. I had a pastor once, as he was getting older, and he had COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And he was noticing that his wind, his ability to move, to do things, was constricting, was limiting him more and more. He made the observation that for those of us who get older and well into elderly years, that one of the ironic blessings is that the attachments that you've had all these decades are being removed. When you're 28, first of all, as I said, you always think you're going to be 28. But when you're 28, for the most part, you think your whole life stretches out in front of you, and it's so far stretching out in front of you, it might as well be eternity. That's why we do all kinds of things when we're 28 that are just dumber than a box of rocks. But then, as we get older and we find that the things that we thought were so important, or the things that we thought were so important to us, our physical prowess, our looks, our status, those things are being taken from us. When you're 76, a whole lot of people who saw you as a high-profile mover and a shaker now just see you as a guy getting old. And many of them don't even remember you were a mover and a shaker. So all the things that you clung to are stripped. And my pastor friend said, that's good. Because it is as though God is preparing you to let go of this stuff. You wouldn't let go of it if you're 28 or 35 or 45 because it still means so much to you. Now, I'm not talking about relationships. I'm not talking about loved ones. I'm talking about all the other stuff that gets in the way of pursuing what is lasting. I saw a cartoon once. A kid was sitting on a dock next to who appeared to be his grandpa, and they're fishing. And the kid said, "Grandpa, do you think about heaven much?" And Grandpa said, "That's a lot of what I think about now, son." I find myself doing that. As I get older, I find myself thinking, what's it like? I don't presume on it. St. Paul didn't presume on it. He didn't say, he said, I'm not aware of anything against me, but I don't pronounce judgment before the day. So that's quite a potent scripture verse for those who say once saved, always saved, and I'm in. Well, St. Paul didn't declare himself in. He said it was God's call. But I find myself doing that. I find myself thinking a lot more about what is on the other side. I'm not 35 anymore, and I look back when I was 35, and I didn't think about that anywhere near as much. Oh yeah, I still had my faith, and it was part of my life, but I was so pulled in so many different directions that there was enough to keep me occupied, moment to moment, thinking about what's next. Well, at my age, one of the big things that what's next is the other side of earthly life. Where will I be? What will it be like? I hope I'm there. Find that out. It's hard to be grateful for getting old, but it should be one of the great gratitudes, because there are so many that didn't get to live to be old. And in much of human history, old age was reserved only to a small minority. Time for gratitude. Thank you for joining me here on The Doctor Is In. E-Person, thanks Eric Dumont. Walk with God, even if your walk's a little stiff and slow.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.